Wow, thank you. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to a new program at New Year Radio. We're at the ciclo Conociéndonos. My name is Desiree Gonzalo, and today I'll be interviewing Julian Alfredo, aka Count Jalfy. We will be sharing about his life, his musical career, other interests. He's a multi-talented, multi-instrumentalist, musician, composer. He plays saxes, guitar, bass, synthesizer. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
I'm working on the clarinet.
Oh, clarinet is coming up.
Alto
okay.
clarinet.
Yes, keep an eye on that. And
keep your ear on it, rather.
Yes, thank you. He's also a composer, and he's got other talents that he will be telling us about today as well. Thank you for coming, Julian.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, lovely piece.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a masterpiece by the great Charles Mingus,
There
my
you go.
all-time favorite composer.
Absolutely, it was delicious. Do you remember how we first met?
It was a dark night. Zizkovsiska.
With some colourful lights.
Yeah, actually that night I had the clarinet. That was
Okay.
the first public appearance of the alto clarinet.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
What a premiere. I didn't know.
And you even liked it, so.
Yes, absolutely. So Julian and I met at a poetry recital where I was reciting, he was playing clarinet, accompanying one of the fellow poets. And so we got to know each other a little bit, and every conversation we've had has been really interesting. So I thought you'd make a perfect interviewee for our ciclo Conociéndonos. And so maybe we can start by talking a little bit about how your interest in music arose.
Well, it was always there. This sax was my grandfather's, and
This one?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I have some from his father as well. And I was always watching him play and listening to him, and he was quite the stage man, and I was always trying to get in on that with him, and he let me, and I think my very first gig with him was, I was probably like 6 or something, at
Amazing.
at the old senior home in
Yes.
Casa Grande, Arizona, and
What were you playing there?
I was playing percussion on the sax case,
Okay.
and I remember he kept looking back at me and saying, "Oh, you can actually keep a beat there, Julian. It's not bad." And he's very encouraging.
Encouraging.
All the time. And and fast forward a little bit, I think when I was 10 or something, he gave me a sax to use for band class. And I remember like the first time playing that thing and really just like exploring it, and really just like falling in love with it. And like I always had a guitar since I was 5 or something, and I could play Happy Birthday and stuff or Jingle Bells and stuff for a little while, but so the music was always there, and my grandparents' house was full of instruments that my great-grandfather collected. And
it was part of your toy collection.
Yeah, that was the main. That was the best toy box.
Absolutely, yes.
And so when my great-grandfather died, my grandfather inherited close to 1,000 instruments. He built a garage with an attic just for these instruments, and so that was like my playground for a long time. Just go up there and open all these boxes, and lots of real cool stuff. Old saxes that are like have obsolete fingering mechanics, and just like every instrument you could think of and more, really. And I played them all.
Very nice. Well, it sounds like a bit of a museum, really. So if you played them all, that's quite a task.
I mean, but yeah, there's some of them there that really, like, when I open the case, it's like, you know, all these vintage antique instruments have a smell
Yes.
and everything, and, but I mean, some of them, like, I've had some weird experiences with those. In particular, there's this one black bassoon that I opened up, and it was almost like a ghost came out of it or something.
Well, maybe it did.
But it did not grant me the power to play the bassoon.
Okay. The ghost was telling you not to go any
It
further.
said, stick with the sax.
Okay. Okay. And then?
But yeah, and so like back to the age 10 or something, when I was given the sax, you know, I was always very driven to just play and to play well and like make my grandpa proud, you know. And
you did.
yeah, you know, in the end, in his last days, like I was with him, and my whole family was there with him, and it was like, I think it was about 3-4 months or something that we were all in the house, and me and my uncle were playing all the time at the foot of his bed.
Very good.
And he would many times at the end of the day he would say, "You guys are still playing.
Yes.
When are you gonna stop?" And but the Count Jalfy thing, my one of my personas, let's say.
Yes.
I was talking with him, you know, when he was dying, and he's told me one day, like, "You played well today," and he would always say like these cheesy things like, "Someday you'll see your name in lights," and I just told him, like, if I ever become one of those jazz guys, I'll be Count Jalfy. And it comes from, you know, Count Basie is a big influence, Duke Ellington, and so they have these royal titles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, I said, yeah, if I become one of these jazz guys, I'll be Count Jalfy. And he said, "Julian, you are one of those jazz guys, man."
Yes.
And it was like a big honor for me to hear that from him. 'Cause he was a jazz guy for sure, you know. And yeah, when I really got serious about jazz, I was always calling him like, "You know this song?" Like, "Of course I know that song. Who do you think I am?" Yeah? and
Yes.
so yeah, it was a
Okay.
good guy to grow up with.
Amazing. Eventually you'll be known as just Count. Like Duke Ellington is just like you say, Duke.
The
Yeah,
Duke.
Everyone knows who Duke is.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Shall we listen to some music?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm here for that, I guess.
Okay. What do you feel like?
I'll play you a little piece on the git fiddle.
Okay.
Here. This is a very special guitar, actually. Wasn't my grandfather's, but I found this axe in a gypsy bazaar here in Prague 4 for about 200 crowns or so. And when I got it, the bridge was like half hanging off, and it sat in storage for a long time. And when I moved to Brno, due to COVID, for some reason I brought it with me, and it was hanging on my wall for a long time, and I finally decided I'm gonna make it playable. So I made this bridge and saddle and this little tailpiece, inspired by like gypsy guitars.
Wow, you
So
resurrected it.
Yeah, and I always wanted a gypsy guitar, you know, but they're a little pricey. But after I put it together and got it playable, I looked at the birth certificate inside, and so this guitar was made on the 7th of September, 1989. So 7/9/1989. My birthday is July 9th, 1989. So 9/7, 1989. Like, I'm not like super into numerology, but it's kind of significant, you know.
Yeah, coincidence. And you engraved Jalfy here.
Yeah.
Jalfy. Okay.
Yeah. But I'll play you a little tune I call Gypt,
Okay.
inspired by the gypsy music.
Super.
It's the real gypsy sound with slightly out of tune.
Okay. Tell us something about this piece. It was lovely. How did you find it?
Think,
How did you find it?
Like in my first couple years here in Prague, let's say from 2010 to 2012 or so, I started getting real interested in the gypsy jazz. I never really pursued it too much, but I learned a few little tricks, and yeah, that song was just inspired by my studies, I guess, my YouTube studies of the genre, and I remember going back to New Mexico and jamming with some friends, and coincidentally, they were all into this gypsy jazz stuff too, and I remember showing it to this one guy, and we're playing it, and he's just going to town, soloing, and that chorus came up, and he said, "You can't just change key mid-song." And I
Yes,
just
you
did,
can.
man. Like, come on,
Yes, you can.
of course you can. But, that's the story behind that. But I always think of that guy. His name is Boleshik.
Okay.
Boleswa.
The one who told you about the changing key?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's pretty awesome guitar player, trumpet player. Guess he does some composition too. But he's also a neuroscientist, and his whole family is like into science stuff. His brother is an astrophysicist, and his dad does a whole bunch of stuff. But he helped lay the fiber optic cables across the Atlantic. Somehow.
Wow.
I don't. He wasn't like on the boat.
Yes.
You know,
The design.
putting out the
Yes.
cable, but yeah, he's a pretty important guy in the science world. And I spent a lot of time in that house with that family, and actually their mom is semi-famous opera singer. Think opera singer, but she's at least a very well-respected violinist.
So this is also part of your kind of musical background. Okay, you told us about family influences. Yeah, sounds like this family was also there.
Yeah, and they were that guy Boleshik. He was a huge influence on me. Actually, like we used to. I would go down to his place all the time, and we have like very similar guitars.
What age was this?
Oh, probably from 15 or 16 or something until, say, 18. And but yeah, we were always like pushing each other on who can play faster and more.
Yes.
You know, just more badass, really. And him and my best friend in the world, Lucas Scarpetta, they were in a band together called Def Potek, and just used to love jamming with them so much because their music was so psychedelic and just real out there stuff. Not free jazz or anything, but like very structured, but just weird. And yeah, it was real cool growing up with people like that.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And actually, we all met at a place called the Blue Dragon Cafe, and it's kind of like the first time I went to Zizkovsiska, I was really reminded of the Blue Dragon.
Similar in ambiance.
Yeah, and just the crowd and the ambiance.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Tell us a little bit about your styles, because I know that you play jazz, hip hop. What else? Tell us about your different styles and what you enjoy about them. About each of them. There are more. There are more. You told me about more.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to do everything. Like, my grandpa really raised me on jazz, and
That's a good foundation.
Yeah, and I always liked jazz, but then, like when I was 12 or 13 or something, I got real involved with the guitar, and sax kind of went aside for a while, and I had a real good friend, Hunter Brooks, and he introduced me to Metallica and Iron Maiden,
of course,
all of those classic bands like that, and Megadeth, still one of my all-time favorite bands, somehow. Just to have a little tangent here, my good friend Martin, that I'm in the Service Elevator with.
Service Elevator is a band that Julian is fronting here in Prague.
And so he's also a big Megadeth fan, and I'm always telling him, like, all right, Martin, I get to be Dave Mustaine, you're Marty Freeman, all right? Let's shred. And it's just a funny joke. Funny to me, anyway.
Yes.
It's like when we were on the playground, like playing basketball and stuff. I always wanted to be Charles Barkley, from the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
But Anyway, so yeah, as a teenager, I got real into metal, or that's like classic thrash stuff, and kind of said forget jazz, and so got real into the shredding thing and a little bit of punk stuff here and there, and I think like when I was 14 or 15, I was introduced to the music of Tom Waits, and I listened to so much of his stuff, and just like I was always amazed at how different all of his music was, like from album to album and song to song, even like it's really that guy has quite an interesting taste, and I was always thinking like I want to do something like that, like play. He's a little bit country, a little bit rock, a little bit jazz, lots of blues.
Yes.
And
some diversity.
Yeah, yeah, and also like another huge influence is Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I mean their progression like from the beginning is amazing, and like my very first cassette tape like that I bought was I think it was their first album. And then the first CD I got was the Californication album, and I must have drove my mom crazy listening to that stuff
over and over.
Just over and over.
Yes.
And my grandpa too. He was like, "Man, what do you see in this shit?" And,
I get you. I get you. Yes.
But this is another random memory of him at my high school graduation. We were doing like pop quiz on this group of friends that we were having the celebration dinner with, and someone asked like, "What's Julian's favorite band?" And my grandpa knew right away. Red Hot Chili Peppers. And my mom was like, "Still? Really? You still like them?"
Very loyal.
Yeah, I'm extremely loyal to the chili. And yeah, but
what about the other styles?
And I always had a private guitar teacher, like official or non-official, like those very few days I decided not to go to school. I would just go to the music shop and play all the guitars that I wished I could afford. And there was always somebody there.
That's so clever.
Yeah.
Cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was always somebody there that said like, "Oh man, you play all right. Let me show you this and show you this," and then it would just turn into a lesson, and that's all I wanted to be doing anyway, was learning new stuff on the guitar and about music in general. But the private teachers, like official private teachers I had, like the first one was classical, mostly classical music, and she did a lot for me. Like there was a lot of very, very nice handwork, left and right handwork with her, and lots of voice training. And I just I hated, at that time I was so shy to sing, and it really hurt to sing in front of her, and but she made me do it, and but she was the bass teacher for a little while too, and she introduced me to flamenco music too, and then later I studied with a guy named Gustavo Pimentel in Albuquerque, and his family is family of luthiers, and just him and his brother Hector are players, and they were kind of like shunned by the rest of the brothers for playing, you know, because they're all guitar builders. Funny.
You either build or play.
Yeah,
you can't do both.
You can't do both.
Of course.
It was kind of a disgrace, actually, that they were players for whatever reason. They're awesome players, but so I had some real flamenco training from Gustavo, and he was a funny guy. To like every time I'd walk into his room, he was eating a Subway sandwich, and he always had mayonnaise or mustard all over his mouth.
Nice.
And he was always spitting food when he talked, and but at the same time he was always playing some really beautiful music.
Yes.
Taking a bite.
Yes.
Of the sandwich, and but every time he would finish a song, he would always just give a little pause, and he'd look at me and he'd say, "Pretty, huh?" And it's just, he was a funny guy.
Okay.
But see, I think, and then, you know, one very like significant encounter I had was with a Serbian guitar player named Branislav, and I met him at a gig here in Prague, and he took me to his hotel room, and he gave me some lessons, and he was really awesome player, and yeah, he taught me a lot in the few days that we were together, and
sounds very special.
Very interesting guy. Like he got around, and yeah, he had some good stories.
Okay, how did hip hop come into your repertoire of styles?
You know, when I was a kid, my dad used to listen to a lot of like crazy gangster rap stuff. Like, who is it? RBL. I want to say like RBL Posse is the group, but like Tupac and Biggie Smalls and stuff, and I remember this one song that I was singing the hook to in front of my mom, and I can't remember what the hook was. It was bad though, like
it was rude.
To say it
lightly.
nicely, yeah,
yes.
it was quite rude. Fine motherfucker, won't you back that ass up, or something like that was the chorus.
Yes.
And my mom was like, "You shouldn't be listening to that stuff with our son, you know." But anyway, like one time when I was in the U.S., I don't know how it came, but maybe Pandora or something brought up Tupac and DJ Quick and stuff, and it just like it brought me back to my childhood in my dad's truck, listening to this stuff, and I was like, man, why is it's weird that this is so familiar to me, and like that it resonates with me so much, because I'm not from that culture at all, you know. But yeah, so I guess like I was around like 22 or 23 or something at that time, and like I got real hooked on that stuff, and started making some beats, and like trying to explore that realm, and because I was always a terrible student in school, but except for literature, you know, I was always writing and reading just for fun, you know, especially poetry, and I guess that's why the hip hop stuff calls to me so much.
Yes.
Just because it's there's so much fun to be had with the words.
And some poetry in it as well. Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I remember like the very first poem that I kind of fell in love with. It was probably pretty cliche. Is Robert Frost's the trail less traveled by, or path less taken, or whatever it is.
Yes.
And
less traveled.
Yeah, the path less traveled, maybe. And just that whole, like, I got the concept, like, the first time I read it, and I was like, wow, that guy was all right. I think I was 7, second grade. There, Miss Kingsley, I believe, was her name. Teacher.
You're giving me ideas for a new recital. We'll talk about it later. Okay. What about synthesizer? When did that come in to your...
I got my first synthesizer during the lockdown situation. And I think like the first time I really became aware of the synth was when I was introduced to the band Yes. And the guy Donnie that introduced me to them he was an amazing piano player. Don't know what he's doing now, but he got me real into them, and so during lockdown and stuff, I was totally bored out of my mind in Brno. Totally isolated. And
you started something new.
I just ordered a synth, and then I ordered
toy.
Yeah, then I ordered 6 more. And
really?
So I have my own kind of Rick Wakeman setup.
Okay.
Can't play like Yes or like Rick, but
okay.
But they're, I don't know how into this stuff you are, but they're step sequencers. So they're basically like loop stations.
Yes.
And
you put them all to do different stuff.
Yeah, and so there's one doing a beat, there's one doing bass, there's one doing chords, lead, and then you can play with all the knobs, and they go.
Great toys.
All this stuff, and so I got real hooked on that, and approaching the electronic music from a jazz background is how I got my sound, I guess.
Okay.
with all that stuff.
Yes.
Because I don't really listen to electronic music, but I like the sounds that you can get from all that equipment.
Great.
And
you have a very very rich, diverse trajectory.
Yeah.
In styles, in different instruments, different influences.
It's a bit of an addiction.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it sounds like you were born into the right place, family, whatever. And it yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a family of instrument hoarders.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
And I'm very much like my grandfather and his father. Like there's just, my grandfather's saying was like, you can never have too many saxophones, ukuleles, flutes, whatever.
Yes.
And I have to hold myself back quite a bit.
You'd have a little museum. You have a little museum already.
Yeah, it's and it's slowly growing and growing.
Yes. Okay. Shall we listen to something else? What do you think?
Yeah, sure, if you're ready.
Yes. Always ready.
Let's see. I brought some tunes here. This is kind of a bluesy thing, and it's I like having a little bit of wordplay and humor in my music. So this is kind of love song, I guess.
Okay.
What kind of hound am I to lay on your rug and eat from your palm? What kind of hound am I to sit by loyal and stay calm? Well, I've done some sniffing around, and when I'm in your place, I know my place. It's on the ground. You can edit that out, right? Woman, come and feed me now in my bowl. Baby, come and squeeze me so you don't get cold. You know I'll always be here right by your side. Been waiting to see you all goddamn night, and I'm so excited that I could shout, but I'm in your place. And when I lick your face, just let me out. What kind of hound am I to lay on your rug and eat from your palm? What kind of hound am I to sit by loyal and stay calm? Well, I've done some sniffing around, and when I'm in your place, I know my place. It's on the ground. Something like that.
Pretty, huh?
Yeah,
Pretty.
pretty, huh? Yeah. Except I need to be spitting food.
Yes, you were very decent here. Yes. Okay. Is this yours?
Yeah.
Okay. And the gypsy stuff was also yours. Very good. You're so modest, you know. Really, you are very modest. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about. I'm always curious. Music to me is such a powerful medium, okay? But I'm always interested about others' experiences and what functions music have for individuals. What you think are functions maybe at the collective level. What is music doing for collectives?
Well,
what is music doing for you as an individual?
I was teaching English here for about 10 years or so, and the first question I would always ask my classes was, what is music? And everybody has different answers to that, but the answer I was always waiting for was communication. And it's it's a very universal communication. And just because I'm playing the blues doesn't, I think like the connotation of blues is like just sadness, but it's not always sad, and even like a sad song like doesn't always make you sad, right? Sometimes like some Tom Waits songs that are just like real.
Yes.
Yeah, like real down and out.
Yes.
Like depressing stuff, but it's hilarious at the same time. But
so at some point I stopped listening to Tom Waits because he would just make me feel weird. It wasn't even sad. It was like weird.
I've been Tom Waits in this Tom Waits tribute band for a total of 1 year, let's say.
You've been playing at Zizkovsiska.
Yeah.
The tribute, yeah.
But yeah, we haven't been too active since March or so, and I'm not too disappointed about it because just
It's
like,
intense.
sometimes it's just a little too much for me. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's time to do the Chili Peppers tribute band
Yes.
for a little while or something.
Mm-hmm. That would be fun.
Different other end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Music is like is communication for one. It's definitely like a therapy.
Yes.
For me.
Yes.
And my like it's always been there for me. Like with just having instruments around, and like having the record collection at my grandparents' house, and even, you know, my mom isn't like a crazy music connoisseur or anything, but she has some good stuff that I grew up with, and but the I really like discovered the, say, therapeutic side of it when I was 19. You know, I had a really serious spinal injury, and I was in bed for about 4 months in a turtle shell back brace, and I was able to play guitar. I was still able to ride my bike even in that brace. Like,
wow.
My mom wasn't too thrilled that I was doing that, but you know, playing the guitar in that stupid turtle shell was like, it was a real big escape for me, you know, because
yes,
you know,
absolutely.
my mind would
yes
chill out a little bit, and of like the drugs they were giving me from that the doctors were giving me.
Yes.
To be clear.
Yes.
They were having real bad effects on me, like making me real sick. So I wasn't really using them that much. I was trading them for other things. But so the music, like, I remember playing the guitar with that brace. Like, as soon as I would sit up with the guitar, I would just start to sweat like crazy.
Yeah.
And in itching like I had fleas or something. But I just kept playing and playing because it was just like, it was helping me so much. And but during that whole 4-month period, I would go on walks with my dog to the library, and I would just look through all the music they had there and just pick whatever looked cool. And that's when I really got into Charles Mingus.
Yes.
And I remember going home with these albums and listening to it, and I called my grandpa and I'm like, "You know who Charles Mingus is, man?" He said, "Oh yeah, of course. He's weird guy, man. Fucking weird." And I was like, "It's so cool." But that music just like blew me away, and you know, there's nothing compares to Mingus.
Not even Miles.
No.
Nah.
I mean, I love Miles Davis too. You know, I like Miles Davis was always around when I was growing up, but and there's even some Mingus albums at my grandparents' house, but for some reason I don't even remember seeing them until I really got into it like that, and I just got real obsessed with him, and so for like years and years that was like all I listened to. Like there's one George Gershwin album.
Yes.
Maybe it's Rhapsody in Blue. At least that song, like I would listen to that song like at least once a day.
Yes, it's fantastic.
And then Mingus, all the time. And then last summer I read his autobiography, and
was he weird?
He was weird. Like to normal people, he's probably a weirdo, but like there were so many parts of that book where I was like, wow,
Yes.
we might get along.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, like I'm not so violent like he was. And he was pretty nuts. But yeah, there's some similarities between us, and yeah, maybe someday we can jam.
Yes, 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 absolutely. You were talking about the function of communication. So obviously communicate, but I think music can also induce. Okay, so you can say, okay, I'm going to communicate sadness.
Yeah,
Yes?
sure.
And in that communication, as you were saying with Tom Waits, it can make you feel, or was it the blues you were saying, yeah? That it's supposed to make you feel sad, but it's not always the case. Okay, so I think there is like, you communicate something, and it can either induce that in the receiver or not. Okay? But this ability to induce something, I think, can also be very powerful.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Because it's like, it really gets through what you're communicating. Yeah, it's felt. So I wanted to propose a little experiment to you. Okay? I'm going to just give you very simple words, just like emotions. And maybe you can try to play something with the intention of inducing that. You communicated, but trying to induce that in us here, our audience.
Okay.
Yeah? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
You now? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
now, if you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
Ready? Let's start with sadness.
That's what I got.
Okay. Yes. I'm trying to. I'm always looking for patterns in everything. Yeah. So I guess, as a musician, you already have some preconceived codes like minors, slow tempo. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that. Let's see. Just do it again, just to see the image. I get like a very kind of like a old splintered wooden door.
Yes.
Swinging.
Yes.
Squeaking on the hinge.
Yes.
With the creaky floorboards.
I also get the image of like someone who's sad and they're like walking really slowly and everything is heavy. Yeah.
In this same house.
Yeah.
With the creaky,
That's
with the
right.
creaky door.
Amazing. Okay. This is starting to sound spooky. Let's do fear. You got me alert at some point, like, what's going on? Yes. Like an element of surprise, maybe, in fear, like you don't know what's going to happen and like you're expectant. Yes, a little bit like this anxiety of what's going to come next. Okay. Let's try joy.
Just first thought was.
I think you had the same thought as me. Go.
No, the thought was this live album I have of a band called Social Distortion.
Oh no, I had something else. Okay.
Yeah, I thought so. But one part of it, the singer says, "You guys want to hear a happy song?" Sorry, we don't know any happy songs. Anyway.
Okay, this was like a
little bit celebration like.
Yes, yes, like Sunday morning, yes.
Time for church.
Yeah, like relaxed kind of joy. No, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking like I have the whole day to myself kind of joy. Okay, very nice. Let's move to anger. That's a very kind of anger.
Yeah, it's like when I'm pissed off, but trying to
think metal.
It's
quite angry.
Trying to be nice still.
Yes. Okay. That's yeah. We got you. Good. I could hear someone like shouting. Yeah, shouting. Let's do love. Like sweet love.
As opposed to sour love.
As opposed to what I'm going to tell you next. I guess with the sax, there's always this kind of sensual connotation, yeah. And I mean, most people would say, "Oh, sax is so sexy," yeah. But the challenge now is going from this kind of love to lust, sexy kind of love.
Hey, look at me.
Yeah, I was thinking you sounded like a horny bird. You're like a bird that's kind of trying to woo some female bird. Horny bird. Very good, very good. Okay. My last request. Calmness. Induce calmness. Very nice. You just have to go out on a slightly windy day. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
That when you first mentioned the experiment here, reminded me of this Christmas party I was at in Palermo, and there was this opera singer that was hosting the activities, and he turned to me and he said, "Okay, now play something that sounds like a wolf." and I tried to, I did my best, but I let out this terrible squeak, and he said, "A wolf, not a dying wolf." Yeah. Anyway.
Well, still a wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Okay. Very good. Let's turn to, because you've told us quite a bit about your individual experience of music, your influences, yeah, how things came about for you. But what about you in the context of the music business.
Yeah.
What's your experience of the music business? What do you think about it? And I'd also love to hear about your opinion of the music that is popular, that is heard by lots of people. Your opinion of what makes it popular. Personally, I think it has something to do with the music business, but I'd love to hear what you think. So your experience of the music business and what you think of...
As soon as you said music business, of course I thought of my grandfather, and I can just hear him saying a bunch of bullshit. and yeah, I couldn't agree with him more on that. And
he would say the music business was a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. And just especially talking about pop music, because, for those of us who aren't into pop music, like, we know that pop music isn't really the most musical thing out there. But, the one, like, really big piece of advice he gave me was never to depend on music. Like, one, because it takes the fun out of it. Two, because the unreliability of everyone involved. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now, is depending on music. And, when a gig is canceled, I go hit the street and, raise my dinner funds that way. When I need to. And it's like, it's awesome that I can do that, but at the same time, it's like, if I have a sore throat or something, it's not really that fun. And I always meet somebody. I was on the street a couple days ago playing, and I met a drummer who was like very eager to play with new people. And he's a refugee, actually. So it was kind of cool. Like, he was thrilled to meet me, And but yeah, and I guess the reasoning, and besides the unreliability and the fun that diminishes when you're at the pro level, let's say. What was I thinking?
Music business.
Yeah.
Depending on it. Not depending on it.
Just, artists, musicians are like very sensitive, very, very self-centered, usually. And I can be also. Which is why I acquired 7 synthesizers during lockdown. But like anything, it's about meeting the right people at the right time and being at the right place at the right time, and of course, like, I'm constantly in this dilemma of, like, just going back to being an English teacher full time, starting the massage practice full time, blah blah blah. But then there's that other side of me that says, just stick it out for another few months, maybe you'll make that connection you're waiting for. It's not like I'm not counting on having a show at O2 Arena or anything, but I think I'm good enough in terms of I could survive like this, like right now I'm surviving, but to really thrive, let's say,
Yes.
I know it could be done because there's a lot of people, that are making it that are like, I think have absolutely no talent, and yeah, this whole conspiracy of the industry, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're hinting at some unfairness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like not necessarily the most talented are the most successful.
Or creative, you know,
Yeah.
because it's like, this is art, you know, and we should be, you know, as musicians, like, I know, so, like, I don't mind playing a few cover songs here and there,
Yes.
but, you know, that's, like, where the money is usually,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just, like, it is a bunch of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. That's
in,
such
in
a
that
shame,
respect,
right?
you know,
I mean,
like,
yeah.
I've spent a lot of time writing music, not that it's all amazing stuff, but and I know a lot of people that write like really amazing stuff, like totally mind-blowing things, like how do you do that, you know?
Yeah.
And when you see them play, it's like, how, like, physically, how do you do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people, like, I'm like Steve Vai, for example, like, he's awesome, he's famous, he's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he's doing good things, but I mean, there's people even better than him, you know?
Who might
Like-
not be as famous.
Yeah. And I mean, not that the fame is the...
But that you can live from music,
Yeah.
basically, and be comfortable. Okay.
And a little bit of recognition, you know,
Yes?
is what most of us want, I think.
Yes.
And just to get out of the everyday 9 to 5 thing.
Absolutely. Okay, you were telling us about this cover songs versus your own stuff. I mean, personally, I think what makes a musician great is not just skill, but the ability to create something.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So I always appreciate it more if I know a musician friend is actually composing than just playing cover songs. That's what I do.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to listen to my creations.
But oh, sorry, but
Yeah.
I kind of forgot where I was going with that. But one of my favorite sax players, his name is Ernie Watts,
Mm-hmm.
and one of his like workshops was like, what is... I think maybe his question was, what is music?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going on like, it's not a sport, it's not a competition, it's art, you know.
Yes.
And the saxophone, for example, is my paintbrush, and my job is to paint the most beautiful picture
Yes.
that I can imagine, and hopefully enhance people's lives with it, you know. And that's what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
With everything, you know, like not just with sax, not just with music, but with all of our individual trades and skills, you know. It's like that's what it's all about.
Enriching, sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful analogy. Okay, so maybe tell us a little bit about your composition work and maybe what your visions are in terms of where you think you're headed, or where you'd like to be headed in terms of your own production. What you would like to see happen in that direction.
Well, my supposed record label is Koothless Records.
Mm-hmm.
Kooth.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like also inspired by my grandfather, because whenever I was misbehaving or we'd see some unpleasant activity in the street or something, you'd always say, "Man, that guy's got no couth, man." And it's just so funny. But
Are you saying your own label?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, according to me, I think I have a bit of couth, you know, but It's also a play on words like Ruthless Records,
Yes.
Dr. Dre's thing back in the day. But if that ever became a real thing, then it should be all very, let's say, unique, new sounding stuff, like which is probably what everyone wants, or most people I want to be with. That's our shared perspective on what music should be and everything. But I'd like to have a nice collective of different musicians that, from all different backgrounds, doing all different styles, and, mixing everything everywhere you possibly can, And, as far as, like, I'm concerned personally, like, at this point, I'm not too set on, like, rising to the top of the charts or anything. Like, I always want music to be there, and it's a great networking tool, let's say, and and all my best friends, most of my best friends, are musicians and so on. But really, like, my, let's say, fantasy of my future is, like, doing music on the side with becoming a little more serious about massage therapy, and maybe even integrating music into that. Like, I'm not going to go to school to be a music therapist, but to mix the two would be real cool. And
to mix
music and massage. Like, not exactly playing saxophone over somebody laying on the massage table.
What do you imagine?
Touch is a very powerful thing.
Yes, I agree.
But sometimes music is more appropriate. Or at least, like, it's something to break the ice with, to really help someone let go of whatever they need to let go of. But I'm also a passionate scuba diver.
Yes.
And so as soon as I touched a saxophone, like my own sax, I knew, like, this is my thing. I want this in my life forever. And when I went scuba diving for the first time, the same thing. And also when I did my first massage class, same. And, like, those three things, if I could somehow manage to do all three on a professional level, semi-professional level, that's my ultimate dream. Preferably in a tropical paradise.
Okay.
Not in Prague.
Not in Prague. No, scuba diving in Prague is a challenge.
You can do it. People do it.
Yes.
But maybe not in Prague, but, like, they do some scuba training down by Karlstein at Veliki America.
Yes.
In that quarry. You can practice ice diving there. You drill through the ice and drop in. Dry suit training and stuff.
Have you tried this?
No, I've dove in cold water before, but never under ice.
Would the neoprene be enough?
Well, for that type of diving, you usually use dry suits, which is just like a rubber thing. So you're fully clothed, and then you have the dry suit and it keeps you totally dry. Supposed to. There's always nothing nothing keeps you totally dry, but that's the intention.
Well, maybe tell us a little bit, because you said these three things from the first time. It was like love at first sound, touch, immersion, whatever you want to call it, yeah? But what do these things, I mean, you've told us plenty about music, but about touch, or specifically massage, which is, I mean, done with an intention, right? And the scuba diving, what is that experience like for you? What do you get from it?
Well, and my mom is a massage therapist, and again, like, I was always getting massages from my mom, and I was always giving massages to her too, and everyone in my family too. But again, like, when I had that spinal injury, like, I realized, like, this is good stuff.
Yes.
Like, it's the best. Even just, like, you know, a little, just the touch. It doesn't even have to be like the pro squeezing and kneading, whatever. Just like when someone, with the touch with intention, you know, is it's a big deal. And but then, you know, like, I love the water anyway, scuba diving or not, but like when I'm diving or swimming in the pool, even, like, you know, just to float there and experience that weightlessness, you know, it's like also, like, you know, there's some therapeutic qualities to it. And if you've ever been in a pool with a stereo system in it, it's pretty awesome. Like,
well, there you have it, because you were saying about massage and music, and now you got the link between diving and music. So it is possible to combine.
Oh yeah. Well, and these places that, you know, have spas and stuff like that, like they usually have music venues and
while people are in the water.
I don't know if that's such a common thing,
because this could be a thing, you know.
But I mean, there is a practice called Watsu that I unfortunately didn't get to study yet, and I've had it done to me, and I've like done it recreationally, let's say, but it's a real cool technique. Like, you're kind of, you know, you're holding the client up in the water and moving them around, and like there's a lot of like there's some pressure points and stuff involved. Like it's called Watsu because it's based off of shiatsu.
Yes, in the water.
But in the water.
Okay.
But it's more about just letting the client let go and just like trust you to move them around and bring them under the water and stuff. Like it's like I forget the proper description of it, maybe. But it's more of a trust exercise.
Yes,
I guess.
Yes, I'm hearing the therapeutic element in a lot of the things you're saying in terms of how you find meaning in all these things, yeah, and the function of it. Okay. I mean, I can just picture that you would offer this unique, I mean, let's call it services, massage and music, right? And you would do touch some of the time when it's needed, where it's needed, and some of the time you're going to be, playing pieces and kind of reflecting on them or letting them kind of sieve through the client, or putting them in water while playing music at the same. That would be an amazing experience to offer. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's so. I mean, I haven't heard of this. Like,
No.
it could be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, music therapy and sound therapy is high on the rise, I think.
Yeah, water therapy.
And I mean, water therapy is huge too.
Mm.
But yeah, it's one of those big ideas I have that may or may not ever make it off the ground.
Well, I'd be very interested to collaborate. You know, I'm very much into therapy as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to play us something else?
Sure.
Anything will be therapeutic, I'm
Okay.
sure.
I'll go back to the guitar here.
Mm.
Year and a half or something, I've been living primarily from all that pop shit, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Playing covers?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my proudest moment, but it's doing very good things for me, as much as I hate to admit it.
Mm.
But you know, it's really. It was deep in the heat of a summer's eve, and I wasn't so discreet, trying to pull those tricks out from your sleeves. I wanted to tell you then, like I want to tell you now. I can love you till the very end, and even more somehow. And you ought to know by now what I want to do. You ought to know by now all I want is you. Well, I was high on that peak with the night sky over me. I said goodbye, I couldn't speak quite right. Oh, poor old me, I saw you there, maybe I stared. I just wanted to say I cared. All I need is you next to me, everywhere. And you ought to know by now the kind of thing that I'm into. And you ought to know by now I'm so into you. Well, I was low down in a hole, nothing but shit up to my knees. No wind would blow, no note could reach my soul. There was no one to pity me. I dreamed of you all day and night, of all those times I held you tight, and laying all alone now, nothing seems right. And you ought to know by now everything I see in you. And you ought to know by now I love you through and through. Wanted to tell you then, like I want to tell you now. I can love you till the very end, and even more somehow.
Very nice tune.
So that's my pop song.
I mean, for a pop song, I was looking at your chords and I was saying, like, well, could be much simpler, actually.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. There is an obvious, maybe last question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being a foreigner here in Prague.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. I hope you've been having
Time
fun.
flies when you're talking about yourself.
Yes, when you've been interviewed by me.
That's right. It's only fun when you're doing it.
Okay.
That's advertising.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, we're both foreigners here, but I'm interviewing you, so I'm going to ask you about your experience of...
I'd say I'm more foreign, not being European. Not having that...
We'll talk about that later.
that passport, you know.
Yes, that's true. The passport counts. It makes things easier. It makes things easier, yes.
The rest of us just have to have kids, you know.
Or get married.
Well,
I guess, yeah, that's another option. Sorry, we're being very cynical, but yeah, that's the reality is quite cynical. I was more kind of heading for your opinion about Czech society.
Mm-hmm.
What you think of it, what it gives you, what you give to it, and if you would change anything about it.
You know, in my first couple years here, I absolutely hated it. And just the...
What did you hate?
And just, like... You know, where I'm from...
New Mexico.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I assume it's a Western thing. But, like, walking down the street, it's not a strange thing to smile at people and wave at total strangers, you know, just to stop and say, hey, how you doing? What's up? You know, whatever.
You don't get that here.
Yeah, and when I first arrived here, like, I was really, like, I mean, I walk a lot. And so, like, to get to know the city, I walked everywhere. From the moment I got here. And yeah, and I was just in that habit of waving and smiling and saying like, hey, what's up? And like, it was like almost as if like people were like turning away, like,
yes,
don't do that.
Who's that weirdo?
Yeah.
Yes.
But then I went back to the U.S. and I was just so overwhelmed with like how much people are like that, you know, and at restaurants too, like, are you sure there's nothing I can help you with? You know, are you sure you're okay? And I'm just like, will you leave me alone, you know?
Yes, the contrast.
You know.
Yes.
And and I guess I got used to it, but Czech society, what does it bring me?
That's a hard one.
I feel bad for taking so long on this. I mean, after a while, I really learned to love and like respect the place and the people. I mean, they like who they are for the most part, and I think we were talking about this one time. Like, they don't have a great history of protesting, or maybe some people would say they don't have a great reputation for sticking up for themselves. But also, like, it's a pretty small place, so I don't know if you can blame them for that. But they're usually pretty straight, you know, with their opinion, and they don't really hold back too much.
They don't beat around the bush.
Yeah, and sometimes like, and that's just pretty Slavic, in my opinion. And sometimes, yeah, and even after being here for 13 years or so, sometimes it's still a little too much for me, but I've really learned to appreciate that. Just that brutal honesty.
Yes.
You
know. Natural, kind of simple, no decoration.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I used to see it as like a very, very negative thing, like that. Just like these people are so negative, so pessimistic, but they're very real. And Yeah, I really appreciate that, actually, now. Because, the few times I've been back home over the years, I've just really became aware of that, like how people are just so open and willing to do anything, and then when it comes time to do it, they're nowhere to be found. You know? And Czechs are like, if they're into something, they'll usually come through. You know? And then, let's see, what do I give to Czech society?
Apart from your fat tones.
Yeah. Well, I don't support the beer industry that much.
Mm-hmm. You're not bringing money through that medium?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't do so much of for Czech society.
I mean, you're bringing a lot of culture.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I'm trying to be a good representative, but I mean, I was a teacher here for 10 years or so I did impact quite a bit of the youth, you know, and I was always like every year that I was teaching, I was probably teaching about like 30-40 days out of every year, like in just like random schools. And of course I'd bring my sax to each lesson, and you know, I know that I've impacted a lot of people that way. You know, the youth.
Yes.
Which is the future, you know.
Yes.
To be cliche. And I don't know, you know, I try to stay out of the way while at the same time being constructive, you know.
Yes. Okay, what would you change?
About society here?
Yes. If anything.
More financial benefits to foreigners.
And to musicians.
Especially foreign musicians.
Yes.
No, that's
I mean,
that's a bit of a joke.
even Czech musicians.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah,
a lot to do there in that department.
I would appreciate less dreadlocks on
Are you
on
serious?
the common folk. I can't stand white people with dreadlocks. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Especially in white people. Okay, got you.
Only that's it. Like just.
Yeah. If you're not white, it's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean. Yeah. I'm not going to go further on that.
Okay.
But that's probably my biggest pet peeve about Czech society is
That's not too bad.
the dreadlocks.
That's not too bad.
Drives me crazy. There is this stereotype also of infidelity with the Czechs, and I mean, I've got to experience that firsthand a couple times, and yeah, it's not my favorite quality.
That they can be promiscuous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
half of the film industry here contains some kind of affair.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like it's exclusive to Czech Republic, but yeah, it's that's that and the dreadlocks.
They are quite liberal, you could say.
Yeah.
Overall, yes.
And you know, and the obsession with like big beat classic rock, you know, Guns N' Roses and stuff. It's just like, come on, get over it, guys. You know. But other than that, it's pretty good. You know, I appreciate the pub culture, you know, and it's like Albuquerque, for example. You know, you go in the downtown area, and I mean, there's always fights in, not exactly in the bars, but you know, if a fight is in the making, you're allowed to go out in the street and fight it out. And yeah, you know, I appreciate this about Czechs, like that they're not fighters.
Yes.
You know, and you know, you never hear gunshots here. Like, you don't really see people getting stabbed so much. Like,
Yes.
I mean, it happens,
Yes.
but I mean, Albuquerque is very much that type of place, and it's a big reason I got out of there. And
Or safety.
yeah, I mean, I didn't exactly feel like I was in danger, but I just didn't want to be around it. Because the last time I was in Albuquerque, I was staying with some friends, and there was a drive-by shooting on my street, on their street. The house across the street from us was like shot up. I don't know if everyone died, but I mean, everybody was pretty hurt from that. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, like, am I really from this hellhole?
Yes.
You know, like, but it was just like, it was a real eye-opener, you know, that this is a normal thing in my hometown, you know, that I grew up loving so much.
Yes.
You know, like, I always loved it there, and it's funny that I was in such a hurry to get out. But I guess that's why, because yeah, I want no part in any of that. And like, the closest contact I've had to guns in Europe, I think, is like, I think New Year's Day in Palermo.
Yes.
I was
Palermo.
I was walking down the street with a friend, and I found well, I saw this hole on the building, and I said, that looks like a bullet hole. And I looked down, and there was the bullet on the ground.
Oh God, yes.
And it was a bit of a shock. It sounds like some cats are
I think
running up
pigeons. Maybe, who knows?
but yeah, that's like my closest contact with guns here, and yeah, it's relieving, you know, that was it.
Well, on that note, maybe we can close on a more beautiful note, if you like. Yeah?
Sure. Let's see here.
Yes.
The song we opened with
Okay.
is usually my closing song on my busking
I'd be delighted to hear it again.
repertoire, but see what else I got here. Yeah, I'll do something from the book here. Aha. Alright, so this might seem a little cocky, but I'm gonna close up with some Coltrane here.
Okay.
Wise one, who we all want to be, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming. It was lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. This is all from us today here at New Radio, Ciclo Conociéndonos. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you in a month.
And,
yes?
tonight, Gastro Bar, silent disco with moi.
Okay, there you go. Say it again.
It's Gastro Bar is the place.
Gastro Bar. At what time?
Starting at 10
Starting
until
at
1.
10. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. It's a very unique experience.
Of course.
I won't say whether it's good or bad, but
Okay.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Gastro Bar at 10.
Huh.
Julian will be playing there live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carlos. Yes.